I'm 72 years old, and I'm sitting here in a house that cost me $3 million, surrounded by silence so heavy it crushes my chest every single morning. The walls are perfect. The furniture is expensive. Everything looks successful. But there's nobody here. No laughter, no voices calling, "Dad, I'm home." Nothing. Just me and the echo of my own footsteps. My name is Robert. For 40 years, I built an empire. I started with nothing, absolutely nothing, and turned it into a manufacturing business worth millions. I had over 200 employees. I had respect in my industry. I had wealth beyond what my younger self could have imagined. People knew my name. They shook my hand at business conferences. They asked for my advice. I was somebody. But here's what nobody tells you about success. Nobody warns you about the price you'll actually pay. And I don't mean money. I mean the real cost. The kind that doesn't show up on a balance sheet. I have 3 children. Jennifer is 45 now. Michael is 42. And Sarah just turned 38. Beautiful kids, smart, talented. But if you asked me their favorite colors, I couldn't tell you. If you asked me about their childhood dreams, their fears, their first heartbreaks, I'd have nothing. I wasn't there for any of it. Jennifer's first dance recital? I was closing a deal in Chicago? Michael's championship baseball game? I was on a conference call that couldn't wait. Sarah's high school graduation? I showed up for 10 minutes, took a photo, and left to handle a crisis at the factory. That was my life. Every single important moment, I chose work. My wife, Margaret, God rest her soul, she tried. For 27 years she tried. She'd sit me down at the kitchen table, her eyes tired, her voice shaking, and she'd say, "Robert, they're only young once. You're missing it. You're missing everything." And I'd nod. I'd promise to do better. Then my phone would ring and I'd be gone again. I told myself I was doing it for them. That's the lie I lived with every single day. I convinced myself that providing financially was the same as being present. That paying for the best schools, the nicest clothes, the family vacations I never actually went on, that somehow that was love. That was being a good father. I missed Jennifer's wedding planning, every single part of it. Margaret handled everything. I wrote the check for the wedding, $60,000, and I thought that was my contribution. I showed up on the day, walked her down the aisle, and honestly, it felt like I was giving away a stranger. My own daughter. When she looked at me with tears in her eyes, I didn't know if they were happy tears or sad ones. I didn't know her well enough to tell. Michael wanted to join the business. He came to me when he was 23, fresh out of college, eager and excited. "Dad, I want to work with you. I want to learn from you." And you know what I did? I barely looked up from my desk. I said, "The business isn't for you, son. You're too soft. You don't have what it takes." I crushed him. I saw it in his face. But I was too busy, too important, too focused on the next deal to realize what I'd just done. He never asked again. He became a teacher, makes a fraction of what I made. But I heard from Margaret before she passed that his students love him, that he shows up, that he's present, everything I wasn't. Sarah stopped trying to connect with me when she was 14. I remember Margaret telling me, "She won't talk to me anymore about you. She's given up expecting you to care." And I got defensive. I got angry. How dare she say I didn't care? I was working 18-hour days for them. I was building their future. But the truth is, I didn't know Sarah at all. I didn't know she loved painting. I didn't know she struggled with anxiety. I didn't know she needed her father to tell her she was enough, just as she was. I learned all of this later, much, much later, when it was too late. Margaret got sick 6 years ago. Breast cancer. It came fast and it came hard. Suddenly, for the first time in decades, I had to be home. I had to be present. The business could wait. My wife was dying. And that's when everything fell apart. That's when I saw clearly for the first time what I had actually built. I had built a business, a successful one, but I hadn't built a family. I had 3 children who were polite to me, but distant. They visited their mother every day. They held her hand. They cried with her. They shared memories I wasn't part of. I was on the outside looking in at my own family. One night I was sitting in the hospital room while Margaret slept. Jennifer was there too. It was late. She was scrolling through old photos on her phone, and I saw her smile at something. I asked her what it was. She hesitated, then showed me. It was a picture of Margaret teaching her to bake cookies. Jennifer must have been 7 or 8. "Mom was always there," Jennifer said quietly. "Every single thing that mattered, she was there." The words she didn't say were louder than the ones she did. I wasn't there. I was never there. Part 2. Approximately 1,000 words. Margaret died on a Tuesday morning in October. The leaves were falling outside the hospital window. I was holding her hand. She looked at me, her eyes weak, her voice barely a whisper, and she said, "Robert, please don't waste whatever time you have left. Be a father. Please." Those were her last words to me. The funeral was beautiful. Hundreds of people came. Friends, neighbors, people from the community Margaret had volunteered with for years. I stood there listening to person after person talk about how kind she was, how present, how she changed their lives. And I realized something horrifying. My own wife had a whole life I knew nothing about. She had friendships I'd never heard of. She'd helped people I'd never met. Because I was never home. I was never paying attention. After the funeral, I tried. God, I tried. I called Jennifer and asked if we could have lunch. She said she was busy. I tried again the next week. Busy again. When I finally asked her directly, "Are you avoiding me?" She went quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Dad, I don't know what to talk to you about. We don't have anything in common. We never have." That broke something in me. But I pushed forward. I called Michael, asked if I could come watch one of his daughter's soccer games. My granddaughter, Emma, she's 9 now. You know how many of her games I'd been to before that? 0. Not a single one. Michael said, "I don't think that's a good idea, Dad. You'll just make her nervous. She doesn't really know you." My own granddaughter doesn't know me. I tried with Sarah, too. She's an artist. She had a gallery showing downtown. I showed up unannounced. When she saw me walk in, her face went pale. Not happy, not excited, just uncomfortable. Like I was an unwelcome guest in her life. After the showing, I tried to talk to her about her work. I told her the paintings were beautiful. She just nodded, thanked me politely, and turned to talk to someone else. I stood there like a stranger at my own daughter's event. That night, I went home to my empty $3 million house and I broke down. I mean, really broke down. I sat on the kitchen floor and I cried like I haven't cried since I was a child. Because I finally understood. I had spent 40 years building something that didn't matter. And in the process, I destroyed the only things that did. The business was successful. But so what? What does that mean when you're 72 and eating dinner alone every night? What does it mean when your children treat you like an obligation instead of a father? What does it mean when you have grandchildren who don't know your voice? I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Patterson. At first I thought it was stupid. What could talking to a stranger do? But I was desperate. And she was patient with me. She asked me hard questions. She made me face things I'd been running from my entire life. "Why was work more important than your family?" she asked me once. I got defensive. I said it wasn't more important. I was providing for them. "But why couldn't you do both?" she pressed. "Why couldn't you be present and successful?" And I had no answer. The truth is, I could have. I chose not to. I chose the office over the dinner table. I chose business trips over birthday parties. I chose money over memories. And I did it over and over and over again until there was nothing left to choose. The worst part? I can't get it back. That's the thing about time with your children. Once it's gone forever. Jennifer's first steps? Gone. Michael learning to ride a bike? Gone. Sarah's first day of school? Gone. All of it. I traded irreplaceable moments for replaceable money. I tried to explain this to Michael one day. We were having coffee, one of the few times he agreed to see me. I told him I was sorry, that I understood now what I'd done wrong, that I wished I could go back and change everything. He looked at me with this sad expression and said, "Dad, I don't need an apology. I needed a father. But that was 30 years ago. I don't know what you expect from me now." That's when I realized something crucial. Sorry isn't enough. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't undo the damage. My children didn't need my regret. They needed my presence. And I didn't give it to them when it mattered. But there was one person who didn't give up on me completely, my youngest, Sarah. About 8 months after Margaret died, she called me. It was late at night. She was crying. "Dad, I'm struggling," she said. "My art isn't selling. I can't pay my rent. I don't know what to do." And for the first time in my life, I didn't offer money. I didn't try to solve it with my wallet. I just listened. I stayed on the phone for 2 hours and I just listened to my daughter talk about her fears, about her dreams, about how she felt like a failure. And I told her something I'd never said before. I said, "Sarah, you're not a failure. You're brave. You're doing something I never had the courage to do. You're following your heart. I'm proud of you." She went quiet. Then she whispered, "You've never said that to me before." "I know," I said, "and I'm so sorry, but I mean it. I'm so proud of you." That conversation changed something. Not everything, but something. Sarah started calling me more. We started having breakfast once a month. She showed me her new paintings before anyone else. She told me about her life. And I listened. Really listened. It's been 3 years now since Margaret passed. 3 years of trying to rebuild bridges I burned decades ago. And I want to be honest with you. It's hard. It's painful. And it doesn't always work. Jennifer still keeps her distance. We talk maybe once a month. Our conversations are surface level. How's the weather? How's work? Brief updates. Nothing deep. I've accepted that I might never have a real relationship with her. That's the consequence of my choices. I have to live with that. Michael lets me see Emma now, once every few months. We go to her soccer games together. She's starting to warm up to me. Last month she scored a goal and ran to the sideline and hugged me. It was the first time she'd ever done that. I cried right there in front of everyone. I didn't care. But it's Sarah who really gave me a second chance. She's the one who decided that even though I was a terrible father, maybe I could be something different now. Maybe I could be someone who finally shows up. Last year, Sarah got married. She's married to a woman named Rachel. Beautiful person, kind soul, everything you'd want for your child. Sarah called me 3 months before the wedding and asked if I'd walk her down the aisle. I was shocked. "Are you sure?" I asked her. "After everything?" She said, "Dad, you haven't been perfect, but you're trying. That means something to me. I want you there." I showed up to every single wedding planning meeting, every cake tasting, every venue visit. I didn't miss one. Not one. And on her wedding day, when I walked her down that aisle, I looked at her and I said, "I'm so sorry I missed so much, but I'm here now, and I love you so much." She squeezed my hand and whispered, "I know, Dad. I know." It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. Here's what I've learned at 72 years old. Success means nothing if you're alone. Money means nothing if there's no one to share it with. A big house is just empty space if there's no love inside it. I have more money than I could ever spend, but I'd give every single penny, every cent, to go back and have dinner with my kids when they were young, to help Michael with his homework, to watch Jennifer's dance recitals, to tell Sarah she was talented and loved and enough. People ask me if I regret building the business. No, I don't regret hard work. I don't regret ambition. What I regret is the lie I told myself, the lie that I had to choose, that I couldn't be both a present father and a successful businessman. That's garbage. That's the excuse I used to justify abandoning my family. The truth is, I could have built a smaller business and been there for dinner. I could have made less money and made it to the baseball games. I could have hired help and delegated and set boundaries. But I didn't want to. My ego was wrapped up in being the biggest, the best, the most successful, and I sacrificed my family on the altar of my pride. Dr. Patterson asked me a question 6 months ago that I think about every single day. She said, "Robert, when you're on your deathbed, what do you think you'll remember? The business deals or the moments with your children?" I knew the answer immediately. The moments. The ones I missed. Nobody on their deathbed wishes they'd spent more time at the office. Nobody wishes they'd closed one more deal. They wish they'd hugged their kids more. They wish they'd said, "I love you," more often. They wish they'd been present. If you're reading this, if you're listening to this and you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and you're telling yourself it's for your family, please stop. Please hear me. Your kids don't need more money. They need you. Your presence, your attention, your time. They need you at the dinner table. They need you at their games, their recitals, their school events. They need you to ask about their day and actually listen to the answer. They need you to put your phone down and look them in the eyes and tell them they matter. Because one day, and it comes faster than you think, they'll be grown. They'll be gone. And you'll be sitting in a big empty house wondering where the time went. Wondering why your children feel like strangers. Wondering why you feel so alone despite all your success. Don't be me. Don't wait until you're 72 to figure this out. I can't get back the years I lost. I can't redo Jennifer's childhood, or Michael's teenage years, or Sarah's young adult life. Those moments are gone forever. But I can tell you this. I can warn you. I can beg you not to make the same mistake. Your children are only young once. Your spouse won't wait forever. Your family won't always be there. Time is the one thing you can't earn back. You can always make more money. You can't make more time. I'm rebuilding what I can with the time I have left. It's not perfect. It's not what it could have been. But it's something. Sarah and I have breakfast every other week now. She tells me about her art, her marriage, her dreams, and I listen. Really listen. Michael lets me be part of Emma's life. I'm learning who my granddaughter is. It's a gift I don't deserve, but I'm grateful for it every single day. Jennifer, she's still distant, but I keep trying. I send her messages telling her I love her. I don't expect responses. I just want her to know. And every night I sit in this big empty house and I think about Margaret, about what she said with her last breath. Be a father. I'm trying, Margaret. I'm finally trying. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this. Don't wait. Don't waste the time you have. Be present. Be there. Choose your family. Because success without love is just expensive loneliness. And trust me, I would know.